It is currently June 15th of 2023. My YouTube channel has exactly 10 subscribers because my project looks terrible. I'm going to change that. So here's what I have thus far. A nice resizable resistant menu. Can be moved around and still mostly maintain composure. Options doesn't work, exit button works, and most importantly, the start bringing to the world selector, which, again, this is probably the best at any of the scenes, is it's resistant to changes in size. And most importantly, it properly functions. We have our main test, battle royale, tower defense, click on any of them, and boom, we're there. So now I have a proper landing hub, and all the buttons work really fast. And everything inside works as well. So to Godot's credit, I was able to throw that together pretty fast. I only read through references for about an hour or two, and then actual work throwing together the menu only took about 30 minutes. Granted, it's a pretty simple menu, but it's extremely functional for what I need, and it's the in-game menu I'm going to be spending a bit more time on, making it look a little nicer. Speaking of in-game menus, I'll be working on that tomorrow. It is currently June 16th of 2023. I got a lot more done than I expected yesterday. In particular, I was able to set up a proper pawn selection so I can be able to see all the items that they contain, as well as for item containers. But you can click around, you can see what people are carrying. Wow, that guy is loaded. 3 health potions and a lightsaber? Alright, well, we already know who's winning there. So, yeah, I can also do the same on gravestones as well, although these are both empty, so they'll be despawning. I'll be cleaning up the look of that UI in the future. However, this allows me to make another big change I've been waiting to do. A change that will simplify the game greatly and allow me to work faster, while also making the game look better. It involves me admitting defeat, however, so I dragged my heels on it a little bit. I'll be removing the ability for pawns to swap out the different kinds of weapons in their hand from their scabbard. I'll be removing the ability for pawns to, drink a health potion and have the health potion be different colors or have different shapes depending on the colors. I'm basically removing the ability to change the look of a pawn based on the equipment it currently has or is using. It's just way too hard to maintain. The rewards just aren't there at my level of artistic experience, and removing it will allow me to work much, much faster. Here's the game with all visual indicators removed. As you can tell, all the animations still work fine, and so does the pawn brains, but man, it just hurts. Hurts to see them just so naked. Oh well, I'll only be using them for probably the next hour or so. First objective is to make some new pawn rigs, ones that are optimized for not changing their look, so they look better. I have done nothing but Blender for the last 8 hours. It's kind of fun. We made some progress. Obviously, this is very work in progress. However, I do happen to have a walking animation. And you know what? That's better than not having a walking animation. And in case you haven't figured this out, this is supposed to be the heavily armored warrior. Here, this little guy. So, yeah, I kind of took some creative liberties with the armor set, but expect to see a rogue, some more animations for the warrior. Now that I've got Blender figured out is a strong term. Like I was saying, now that I've got Blender figured out is a strong term, but now that I know what I'm doing well enough to get things done, hopefully I'll be able to make the rogue, goblin, and the rest of the warrior animations within a reasonable amount of time. I made some mistakes with the warrior rig. I'll get into those just briefly. I screwed up something in the arms, like the elbows. They bend very strangely when I'm animating. I kind of fixed it, but if you look closely, you'll realize something is wrong with this guy's joints. Today is June 19th, 2023. And did I say that I had Blender figured out? What? I fixed the problem with the arms. It was pretty simple. Basically, the arm bone was perfectly straight, so the inverse kinematics made an incorrect assumption about which way it should bend when I used pulling. Pretty simple, just give it a slight bend. The other issue was a little more complicated. You know how I said I'd give up on having items swap in and out of the pawn's hands? I thought I could still do generic items. Like when a pawn drinks a potion, instead of having a red potion for health or a blue potion for mana and etc. I could still just have like a generic canteen or generic red potion for a catch-all for potions, but that still requires swapping the pawn's hand from a sword into a potion. I can't even do that. Here's Blender, and this is what I've got. Health potion, currently gone. Walking animation, works great. I love it. The issue comes, though, is when I try to switch this from my walking animation to, let's create a new animation here. Let's call this a drinking animation. Go over to my shield, or the sword rather, is what I need to hide. Get rid of this. There we go. We start to run into issues, because now you need to appear. And when I do that, notice that the armature and the health potion now have separate NLA tracks, and then also that the health potion has an action stash for walking for some reason. I'm not sure, it's confusing. But we run the animation and pop, sword comes back. That's frustrating. I want sword to be gone. Bye-bye. In fact, I have it set to be bye-byed, and I want this, my health potion. Where'd my health potion go? Well, regardless, I kept messing with it, and I can't seem to consistently get objects to appear and reappear, and I don't understand what's going on with the separate NLA tracks up in the upper right corner. It's a confusing mess, and maybe there's a way to figure things out, but it's beyond my capacity for Blender. With all of that said, I do have a very excellent animation set and rig to show off to you guys. Say hello to your warrior and his mighty stab. But not only can he stab, he can also interact with things, which I have to, let's see, that's 50. I gave all of these different lengths and frames. But he reaches out with his shield. Not my best work, but hey. Death animation, 80 frames. So he falls back a bit, catches himself, and then fails to go on any longer. We've got an idle animation as well. That's 60 frames. Just him bobbing around. As well as the drinking animation. So once again, I can't switch out the item that he's holding, so we're just going to have to deal with the fact that he is going to eat his sword. But, pretend there's a health potion there, because I know I can. And lastly, we have the walking animation, coming in at 40 frames. So now that that's all set up, let's see if I can import this into Blender. Ah. Nice. Just what I wanted. Okay. Attempt 2. Let's go! Alright, looks like take 2 was the charm. Only issue is the sword is floating in front of the model. So, for those who don't know, I rage quit Blender about 4 months ago, and this floating sword here is the reason why. I don't know if it's I'm not applying transforms right, what's going on with Blender, but last time I was creating the pawns, I managed to get their weapons actually fit to their hands exactly once, and I took that and I ran with it and I didn't look back. And now it seems I'm going to have to cross that same bridge again, but it might not be hopeless, who knows. Let's see. Maybe, just maybe, when I select one of these animations, the sword will snap into the proper location. I also don't know what all the yellow stuff is. That was not there previously. Those bones? Connections? I have no idea. Look kind of cool, though. Oh. Okay, I see what the issue is. I'll have to redo all the animations. I hope not. So here's the issue. Right now I'm looking at the base warrior model. And I'm looking at the sword. So when I coded the sword, I originally was thinking that the sword might be placed in a scabbard occasionally on some animations. I abandoned that, similar to swapping out weapons. Just too complicated for me. And anyway, the way you do that is with these object constraints. So child of hip, if I set that influence to be max, then the sword floats more towards the hip. At least it's supposed to. It points in a random direction right now. Unfortunately, it seems that Godot does not respect these constraints, so since the sword was not a direct child of the wrist, it didn't move. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to set the sword to be... I'm going to set the sword to have the parent of the wrist bone, and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully, things still work. Hooray! I don't have to redo everything. Alright, in case anyone was wondering what my export process looks like, it's pretty simple. Object mode, select all, file, export, GLTF. Then when you go through, include selected objects, and then under data, apply modifiers. That's what made only half my meshes load previously. I don't think there's anything else I need to change. And then under animation, make sure group by NLA track is checked. Some other video told me that was important, and it seems to work. And then we'll toss this in Fin. Yay! I never actually introduced myself. I am Shine. That is all for this video. Next time you see me, I will be working on getting the Rogue rig as well as the Goblin rig set up and integrating all three of those rigs into my pre-existing program, which hopefully won't take too long, but either way, I'll see you next time.